What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of 10K on the Bay. It's our weekly show with Luke, Endless Entrepreneurs, where we each give 6 tips on an eBay process. This week, we're going to go over 6 tips on how to avoid eBay burnout. And there's a lot of you who are full-time or you're part-time, burning the midnight oil, doing both. And we just want to give you guys some tips that we've used to overcome burnout or avoid it altogether. Luke, do you want to go ahead and start with give us a little intro and then your first one.
Yeah, absolutely. If you haven't seen my channel yet, I'm a part-time eBay seller and a full-time corporate finance analyst. So I spend a lot of time building my business in the early mornings and late nights. It's a 7-day-a-week commitment, and that's why kind of this topic was born. Occasionally we hit those walls where we just get real burnout and torched. And today was actually one of those days for me. Me and Chris were talking. I'm like, what a perfect time to discuss this. So I'll jump into my first tip, and we'll kick it off this way because I think this is a really intriguing topic. But the first one for me, which has worked pretty much all year for me, is I'm spending probably as many hours on my eBay business as I am working full time. And something that's really helped me to combat the burnout and to really kind of keep pushing forward when I do hit burnout is to start learning new niches. And I don't mean like changing my niche every week, but like every couple months I can look back at this year and see like every 2.5 months, I've added an item category within a niche that I've started to learn and dive into, just so that when I'm outsourcing, it's a little more fun. It's a little more new. When I'm listing, it's a little more fun. It's a little more new. I feel like I'm growing forward because I'm giving myself more opportunities. And when I combine all those things, I just personally get a lot more excited about it because it's not the same 6 items over and over and over, or not just button front men's shirts only. And so that's helped me tremendously kind of navigate that burnout scenario, avoid it a lot of times. And when I do hit it, just kind of get past it somehow and push through it. So I'll kick that over to you, Chris.
I love that. I think that the opposite of unhappiness is not sadness, it's more boredom. So if you get stuck in a mundane, same thing over and over and over again, it gets kind of boring. And for me, it's been, when I first started, I was excited about every single category. And I was just like trying so many different things. It never gets old. And now I'm getting just as much enjoyment from delving deeper into a niche. Like, for example, I'm selling a lot of jeans now. I'm looking at different types of Levi's. I'm reading the history. I'm watching movies related to it. I'm, getting into my niches is just as interesting to me now as looking at a new niche. And of course, you don't want to sell the exact same thing. If you only had one widget, you might get kind of bored. And this is something that happens with Amazon sellers. They get one really good product and they sort of lack this fulfillment kind of, because it's the same product year after year after year, and they put all their energy and love and tears in the one thing. And they get kind of tired of listening to their marketing and their commercial. But no one, this thing hit really home, which was this company told me that everyone that's in sales or works at a company gets sick of their slogan because they hear it over and over and over again. But most customers don't get sick of it because they don't hear it that often. So you just got to mix it up if you can.
That's such an awesome point about the slogan. I never even thought about that. I remember when I used to work with Boys and Girls Club, it was like we had the same couple slogans, and they're all so tried and true, and they're all great. But yeah, same thing. You say them all the time, but you're right. The other person hearing them doesn't, because they only hear them every so often. So that's pretty interesting.
So my first one for tip for avoiding burnout, I actually have not done yet, but I think that a lot of people have done it in my groups and people I've met on Instagram. As an example, shout out to Just Thrift It, Bethany. She actually turns her store off when she goes on vacation. Not vacation mode, not changing the handling time. Literally, her vacation is actually vacation. She's not answering customer service. I think, it's important to, we'll go into some other points related to this, but to get to the point where you can actually take time completely off so you can fully recharge. And I think if you're never really fully rested, you're never really fully working either. What do you think on that?
Yeah, I think that's dead on. I mean, and it's crazy to think about for me because I haven't done that. Like, I look back at this year, and even since, I would say, like, I marked last August was probably when I went like full steam. Like when I went from like, yeah, my part-time media business is good, to like, I'm going all in on this and growing it big as I can in my spare time. And I haven't done that since then. Even all the trips we've taken, even when we were in Punta Cana for like 5 days, I was still answering best offers and messages and trying to keep my sales going because I didn't want that break in sales and didn't want that break in momentum. That's super interesting that she does that. And I mean, I guess like I'm not full time, so I don't really know how to think about that. But I guess that makes sense, right? Like you would want to do that. It's so weird for me because I have employee mentality, right? Like when I go on vacation, I get paid. I have paid vacation days. When you go, but when you do what she's saying, you literally you're taking unpaid vacation when you do that, which is just I don't know. That's so weird. I think that I would be so stressed out doing that. But I think it's a great tip. If you're able to do it, you're probably just so rejuvenated and ready to come back. Yeah, that's crazy.
And one interesting thing, there's so much talk about having a active store. So there's nothing more active than similar relisting your entire store. I mean, that's as active as you can possibly be. So it's interesting to see, like, if you get a crazy boost from instantly listing potentially thousands of listings on one day after taking a break. And there's some really good questions in the chat, guys, that we will address after the chat in our normal format.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you want to jump into the second one?
We will hit the questions. You save them. We definitely will get to them, I promise. Yeah, I'll hit my second one. So mine's similar to what Chris said, but just in a slightly different way. One thing that I haven't done a good job of, but I definitely do a good job of when I start to hit these ruts, is taking a day during the week. And for me, it's got to be a weekend day, so it doesn't impact shipping, but to not do any eBay related work. So I've done that probably, I would say a handful of Saturdays, not counting my trips, obviously, but I've done a handful of Saturdays where Shannon and I just kind of had like that staycation where it's like, I don't do any listings. I don't go to my storage unit. I don't go sourcing. I don't do anything eBay related. I might do a video or something like that, social media related, but nothing eBay related, so that I'm completely removed from that side of the business. And I'm not feeling the pressure to get listings up and a lot of times that's enough for me to recharge my batteries, because then I come back excited and almost a little anxious because I'm like, oh man, I just took a full day off. I need to hit it hard. And like that excitement or motivational urge helps me kind of roll back into that rhythm and kind of get excited about pushing forward. So similar to what you said, but just in a little different capacity, that's really what would be my second tip.
I really like that tip. And in fact, when I hang out I have 2 scheduled dates with my girlfriend, and both of those dates, my phone is in her purse. So I'm really trying to avoid having any distraction. And it's really hard because we are living in a culture where we're never bored. Like if you have to wait in line for 2 seconds, you can whip out your phone and check every single possible thing on earth. So it's tough to take a break, and it's taught me to really enjoy that. And this is an interesting point. My girlfriend did not want a smartphone for this reason. She just got a smartphone like 2 years ago. So she doesn't like she's like, I can't enjoy regular life if I have a smartphone, because it's probably more interesting than the conversation at the table and more interesting than the person I'm hanging out with. So I don't want to get sucked into that world. So she's actually very quiet on social media and her phone just for that reason. And I feel like she is a very happy person because she's not sucked into all the constantly glued to it.
That's super interesting because like, you're right. We're in this constantly like engaged state, right? Every notification that comes across, and like, I don't view it as a bad thing. I just view it as the state of where we are. But at the same token, like when that alert that you're getting constantly is your business, right? Then it's really hard to take that step back and unplug when you're away. And so it's almost like I've toyed around with like, I'm just going to uninstall the eBay app from my phone for today. Like it's off. So like on a Saturday, I don't care about customer service. Like tough luck. It's Saturday. I'm not answering you. I haven't done that yet to that extreme. I've done the extreme, but I haven't touched it. I think what I have to shift to is removing best offer from my business model. So I think once I remove best offer from my business model, I won't stress about that, because it's like I'm not missing out on a sale, because the sale is either going to happen or it's not. I stress myself out a lot. I don't know if anyone else can relate, but I stress myself out a lot because I'm like, oh man, if they sent me an offer and I don't reply right away, I might miss out on them, countering and going back and forth and making the sale. So yeah, that's a very interesting point there.
That's a great point. I was telling on my last show, I was saying that when I was in sales, I used to drink a lot, and it wasn't like on purpose. I was just more stressed out from negotiating all day. And since I switched away from, I have best offer available, but auto decline, auto accept set up. So I don't get any emails or messages, and my life is really at peace. Even though when you allow best offer and someone offers you, let's say on a $20 item, my item will automatically decline and offer less than 16. So if somebody had offered 15, I would have potentially made a deal by counter offering. So I'm going to lose that potentially that person. But I feel like if that person really wants it, they'll offer again. And I also don't have to deal with the mental stress of selling. You know, I enjoy selling, but I'm just saying lots of times every single day being interrupted to negotiate with somebody adds to the stress.
Yeah, and that's a really different vantage point for, and a really cool one to think about is like when you are in that you need to close the sale mentality versus, well, the sale is going to be what the sale is on eBay, right? Because it's like you don't get the opportunity to talk the person into buying that, right? They're surfing uninterrupted and decide what they're going to pull the trigger on. Whereas when you were in sales like that, I mean, yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I used to, part of one of my job when I was in the Boys and Girls Club was it was fundraising. So the same thing, right? You have to make yourself available to your biggest donors 24/7 because when they're giving you, extremely large amounts of money, you want to be there and available to them to answer their questions and kind of court them and make sure that, they're comfortable with what they're doing and supporting. So it's very interesting, the different dynamics that eBay brings, but also the different complications it brings and needing to unplug from it. So good vantage point there for sure.
I'm going to hop into my second point, which is whenever I need a recharge, I'll actually go to the mall and look at retail. So like whenever I'm thinking like, oh, am I charging too much or whatever for my items, or sales are slow, which has been mentioned in the chat more pretty often, that people get pretty burned out when their sales are slow. When I walk into the mall and I see a couple of things. One, malls aren't that busy. At least in California, they're not as busy anymore. Now with Amazon offering 1 hour delivery and people are working all the time, malls aren't that busy and prices are not that good. So when I walk into the mall and I see how much money they're asking for, a basic, like as an example, there was an H&M skirt that I listed and the market was around 10, 15 bucks for it. And they're asking 40 for it in the store. Like, we think we're slow. Like they're definitely not moving that skirt at $40 in an area where it's really expensive and there's not a lot of disposable income, it seems like. So walking through there, for me at least, it gets me excited and it gets me an idea of different brands I'm not selling. I really enjoy walking through Nordstrom's or just pretty much any shop and seeing what's out front current season, because I also make the point that at places like Plato's Closet and Buffalo Exchange, they will sell bad brands that are in current style. So I think it's really important to go do that. For me, it's gotten me pretty excited doing that.
That's an awesome point. And I don't do that enough. I get pretty disconnected from trends and fashion just simply because I'm just so like work, point A, point B, come home, eBay, point A, point B. And even on eBay, it's more searching sold listings, right? It's less about the trendiness or what's upcoming. And I think the mall and staying in touch with that, A, it gets you excited the fact that you see where you place in the marketplace, right? You see that there's a need for what you're doing, which reaffirms what you're pursuing. And then B, it's like you start to see some of the trends emerging before they even are a trend on eBay. Because normally what gets hot on eBay, it's on the back end of the trend, right? Like it's not normally right away. If it's like techie or something like that, it might be. But like clothing, it seems to be like on the back end of it, right? Because the first wave is buying all the new merchandise. It's not available redonated as used items yet. So like that used wave is usually on a delay. So I think that's an awesome point. I need to do that more. I really don't do that enough. All right, let me jump into my third here. I think this is the most important one for me personally. I don't think it's necessarily going to be the best one for absolutely everyone, but I've just realized through this last year that I am extremely driven on achievement. So like my happiness resides on achievement. So if I'm not growing something, if I'm not growing, if my business isn't growing, if YouTube's not growing, if whatever I'm spending my time on isn't growing, then I'm very unsatisfied. And like, I'm not very passionate about it. I'm not very happy about it. And so for me, setting an aggressive goal that gets me excited is really important. So like with eBay, the reason I set such a big goal this year is if it's not big enough to excite me, then I lose interest. And like, I'll check out or I'll hit that burnout a little sooner. And like when my goal is so big that it excites me that much, it's a lot harder to get burnt out because you're always chasing it so fast. And it's always exciting because it's so big that it's like, oh my gosh, if I get that, that'd be amazing. And so I've realized that about myself. And I've been trying to make sure that I'm recalibrating with my goals more frequently rather than just setting them and forgetting them. That's making a big difference for me. And even today, I had to really recharge and reset and kind of meditate on those a little bit to kick my butt and get back into gear. So I'll kick that over to you now.
I mean, what you just mentioned is the entire point of my channel, which is 10K on the Bay. Like 1K on the Bay is not exciting to me. Like just getting by is not interesting at all to me. Like I would never become an entrepreneur and take this much risk versus just getting a normal job for not like the hope to have one day be abundant. Like at 10,000, if I can run an actual 10,000 item store well, I'm going to make way more money than I need. And that's exciting, right? That gets me out of bed. That allows me to buy hundreds of items and figure out how to list them and screw up and try different categories and share it. And I think that it's literally challenging yourself business-wise. Everything moves up when you raise your standards. So like me having to hit 10,000 items makes it so I have to go to bed earlier. I have to eat healthier. I have to take time off. Otherwise, I'm going to get burned out. So it's like setting the goal really high brings your whole standards up, and it just makes it a lot more fun. So I think if you don't have a goal that's exciting, and I see so many of these messages, how do I make an extra 50 bucks or 100 bucks a week? I'm like, that's like not even a meal in the Bay Area for 2 people. Like set your goals a little bit higher so that you're more exciting. You're more excited.
Yeah, completely echo all of that. I mean, for me, it changed everything when I started thinking that way. Because I used to get to a point where I was like, all right, I'm going to bust my butt to get here. And then I stop. I'm like, okay, I'm good for a while. And I coast. And then I get back and, I got to go hard again. And then and it's like, now it's more pick something so big that I'm building a huge foundation along the way, right? So you're never actually stopping. You're just recalibrating, recharging, reinvigorating. And so, yeah, I agree a lot. And I think people get burnout more than they care to admit. I think that's one thing, like, I try to talk myself out of that I'm at that burnout stage instead of just acknowledging it and doing something about it. I don't know how you feel about that, Chris, but like I find myself trying to talk myself out of the whole I'm in burnout mode instead of just doing something about it quick and avoiding it lasting longer than it needs to.
For burnout, I think that as long as burnout for me just happens when I take my mind off the goal. Like because my why is strong enough that when I just get distracted, and I think this is, I get burned out also from people are saying that like what you're doing is dumb, or your family can be a big downer too. Like because I could just get a regular job and be perfectly fine. Why do I have to do whatever I want, right, and stress everybody out? So I think, and then there's also, you and I are both on social media. Every time you get a negative comment, you have to deal with that. So when I just remember why I'm doing this, which is, me sharing my journey on YouTube is helping me level up really fast. Like I think I can build an eBay business 2, 3, 4 times faster by just sharing and being public. So once I realize the point is me sharing the good and the bad, then I just forget about the negative comment. I don't know if that ever bothers you. I don't think you've ever had a negative comment, Luke, but
I definitely can relate. I mean, and then to pare it down for a non-content producer, like any of the negative feedback from your family, your friends, whatever, right? Like just people not approving of what you're doing, that weighs on you, and that will feed into burnout faster because you'll feel like you're not progressing fast. Like I catch myself this all the time. I feel like someone who I know or like a family member or whatever, and they're questioning why I'm spending so much time on something. They're like, well, you're only making what doing that? And you're spending that much time. And like those thoughts get into like, oh, I'm not growing fast enough. I'm not doing it quick enough. I'm not doing it well enough. And then it pushes you in that, like pushes you down and you get less motivated. So like, I'm very careful to block that out too. But getting back to your negative comments as a content producer, because I'm not going to dodge that one. I mean, there's a reason you don't see any negative comments on my videos. It's because I remove them. So like I have, and I've shared this with Chris and Jason, a couple of people. Like I have a very strict policy. Like when I started creating content, I created content selfishly so that I could stay positive and I could learn and I could grow and I could hold myself accountable. Like that was the reason when I first did it. And so what's the purpose of holding myself accountable and torturing myself with negative comments? So I basically just have a policy of like, I get a negative comment and it immediately gets deleted. Like I don't even waste time responding to it anymore because I just have too many more important goals to chase after that if I spend time validating or responding to it, it doesn't add value to my business. So that's something that has helped me a lot, is that if it's negative, it's just gone. Like I don't need it in my life, like, at all. So it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of how I roll. But hopefully some people can resonate with that, at least on the family and friends front. I mean, I know as resellers, not everyone can relate to going to thrift stores, buying things and reselling it. It's not as common as people think.
I also really like this Gary Vee quote, which was positivity always wins and negativity always loses. That was like right on the money. He always comes in with the motivational quote that you need.
Yeah, another one of his favorite, I gotta throw on another one of my favorites of his is like, either you're gonna be right or they're gonna be right, but one of you is gonna be right. So it's like stop debating or thinking about who's gonna be right. Just do what you want to do. Like, and when you really rationalize that, it's like, yeah, like, okay, I'd rather just push after being right than stand in the middle and let them be right simply because I'm not chasing it. So enough of the soapbox motivation. Let's jump to some Q&A here. Or you?
So we can jump right into the Q&A. The last, or I guess I could share my last thing, which is, for me, I have scheduled. Everything is scheduled, and especially time off. And I think that my scheduled time with friends and family has allowed me to burn out less. I really do believe I burn out less than most people. I don't not have any burnout, but like I'm working, I feel like I work way more than people I watch. So like in order to do that, I think I need to have the equal amount of break just so I can mentally do that, because you need space to work a lot. And if you don't, if you don't schedule time to rest, and I consider resting doing. So when I'm hanging out with my family, it's not a waste of time. Like, it's on purpose. That's the whole point of this. Like, I'm never going to regret taking off an extra few hours to hang out with my brother or my family. Like, that's the point. So
that's right on the money. I mean, I think that rest and that rejuvenation comes from intentionally doing things of value that aren't reselling, right? Or that aren't your business. And that's exactly what you described. It's just like, you don't have to waste time to rest and rejuvenate. Right? You can do other things that are value add and intentional to your life. So I think that's huge.
You ready to jump in the Q&A?
Yeah, let's jump into some Q&A. If you see one,
so the first one I want to take is Joan is asking why we sometimes delete negative feedback and does it affect our mood. So here's just something interesting, Joan. I've actually pinned constructive criticism. Like, somebody was like, hey, Chris, you should really focus on profit versus the number of items. And I actually, even though that's kind of a negative tone, I even pinned that and I said, thank you for your feedback. You're right. I mean, I'm not only focused on the number of items. I'm just, as a side effect of having a lot of items, I'm probably going to make a lot of profit. I get it though, that you want to focus on how much money you want to make, but like 10K in the bank or something is not as catchy. And I'm just thinking about the point of my store is to max out an anchor store. So like, I get the profit analogy, but that's an example where it's a kind of a negative tone in the comment, but I wouldn't have deleted it because it wasn't necessarily, for me, it was more constructive criticism. But I mean, it's just overall still not a positive comment.
Yeah, make no mistake about it. Like, when I say I remove all negative comments, don't mistake that they don't motivate me, right? When I see them, I mean, they're having the opposite intended effect of the person who posted it. It's just motivating me further. But at the same time, I love constructive feedback. Like, I feel like I have pretty thick skin, and when people give me some really sound like opinions on what I'm doing is wrong, I'm willing to listen. Like, I know a little bit about a little bit. So it's like, I agree with you, Chris. When you can take that constructive feedback and apply it and add it to your business and make sure that you keep improving, it's a win-win for your business, for you. And even that little bit of negativity or the tone that comes with it is worth dealing with to get the added bonus.
Do you want to take a question?
Yeah, I have one it's kind of not related to the topic, but I think it's a decent one. About suits and blazers, and it's just how do you calculate the size of a suit and blazer does not have a size tag. So I'm just going to give quick tips to everyone on that. First of all, always go to the manufacturer's website of anything that you find, not just suits and blazers where there's not a size tag. See if you can find comparable measurements and for styles for men's versus women's. A lot of them have that on there. If you can't find that, then the best way is to take the pit-to-pit measurement, double it, and plus or minus an inch is about what is going to be the size for that suit jacket. So hopefully that helps.
That's a good one. Let's see. I don't know how Luke does it. He must work 18 hours a day. He works a lot. I think both Luke and I have like work-life integration, so it's just all one thing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't.
I mean, if I'm being honest, like my hobby is my business, right? Like I enjoy it. If I wasn't, I would be going stir crazy. Like my hobbies consist of three things: my eBay business, my YouTube channel / Instagram. I guess you could bucket them together. Sports, which I do with Shannon. So softball with Shannon. Also, I play basketball by myself competitively. So competition again seems to be the theme here, right? Like I like growing things, like building things, and I like winning. Like that's my personality. And then my last one is hang out with friends. And I only hang out with friends if it's in a capacity where I'm like recharging. So it's like being outdoors, being active, going out, doing things like that. So like I pretty much go in that order though when I pick my time. So like you said, it's kind of all fluid. I mean, and I wake up early. Like I get all the stuff done I want before I go to my day job. So, but yeah, totally agree. I mean, I do work a lot, but it is very fluid, like Chris says.
So we're not a politics channel, but there's a lot of talk about Trump and about how his marketing skills. And I just want to point out that we live in a time where it's an attention-driven economy. That's why like Gary Vee and Trump have been so successful in reaching so many people, because they're good at grabbing people's attention. That being said, Luke and I are both on Instagram and YouTube learning how to get people's attention, and that translates to eBay sales. So, you know, you can see like I put up those Apple shoes, my Instagram following added 1,000 watchers to that listing. That's insane. So like if you guys don't realize how insane attention is driven and where attention is, then it's going to be tough. And this is why, like, why do things sell for more on Poshmark or eBay? And why are more on eBay than Poshmark? It depends on where the attention is for that specific item. So I think it's important to realize whoever's in power, whatever, look at how people day trade attention, because that's going to help your business.
Yeah, I agree completely. I don't comment on politics whatsoever. It's just not my cup of tea. But when it comes to attention and it comes to being successful in your business, I mean, you can never learn too much and you can never test too much. And I think that's why I consume a lot of Gary Vee's content. And I think I resonate very well with it, because it's just always like test everything. Like apply what's going on, apply what's working, adjust as the things adjust. And so I think that's a great tip, Chris. Here's a question that says, do either of you look for a specific ROI on an item and have a limit on how fast something will move on a lower ROI item? That's a pretty good question. I'll let you want to take a stab, or want me to take a stab?
I have a complicated answer. I'd love to hear your answer on it.
Okay, that's fair. All right, so I'm going to try to simplify mine the best that I can. So I have to preface this with my buy cost, right? I buy items between about $3 and $6 on average, somewhere in there. So my ROI, like when I look for the return on investment on that, if I can't get, and this is where it's tricky. If I have like a sell price floor. So if I can't get $16 for something in that buy range, it's not even worth me considering. Once I know I can get $16 or more, then I factor in the weight of it and the shipping cost. So from there, I determine what that net profit's going to be and if it's worth it to me. If I can't make at least $7 on an item net after all fees, shipping, everything, it's not worth my time, because I basically can list 10 to 12, maybe sometimes 14 items an hour. And I can probably I can probably source like 30, 35 items in an hour, typically, it seems like lately. So when I look at that and those calculations, like that's kind of my minimum ROI on an item, is that if I can't net $7, I know it's not a direct ROI calculation, but if I can't net $7 on that item, it's not worth me picking up. What I use in sourcing is I think about that floor. If it's $16 or more at my buy cost, I usually can find a way to make $7. I prefer to be over 20, no questions, but that's kind of my answer to it. And I don't worry about how fast anything moves, because I take a very long tail approach to my store. I don't care if it takes 6 months for something to sell, if it's a good buy. So go ahead, Chris.
So this is interesting. When I was working full time and it didn't matter it didn't matter very much how long it would take to sell, but I still like to double my money every 90 days. But if it takes longer than that, that's okay. But I'm trying to find items that will sell within 90 days. If I buy it for 5, I like to sell for 15, get $10 back in my bank account, double my money. Now that I am full time and I have way more time to source, doubling my money is no longer enough. I more have to like at least triple my money because I have so much more time to hunt. So like if I didn't have time, then I know people who are to the point in their business where if they make $5 on $100 investment, it's worth it if it's guaranteed. So like 5%, net is crazy in the world of people who are thrifting and stuff. But at a certain point, your model changes when you run out of time, you just buy things that you can get a quantity. So maybe this person can buy 100 units of 100, make $500, but they need to risk $10,000 to do it. Now that I'm full time and I still have a somewhat limited budget, I'm looking to just triple. So if I spend 5, I'd like to sell it for 20 and get the 15 back, so that instead of turning my 5 into 5, I want to turn my 5 into 10. So a little bit more aggressive with more time.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that's what's so interesting with that question is, and I just put out that video on, I think it was Saturday night. It was last night, I think, on business models. The other night or the night before. Maybe it was Friday night. But either way, just picking a model that works for your situation. Like, I don't think there's a specific ROI that you have to pursue. It just depends on your situation. And it really does depend. Like, it's different for everyone. All right. What else we got here?
There's a lot of conversation in the chat about debt. So I just wanted to address that really quick. I've been modeling my finances based after this guy that I met who makes $600,000 a month. So he owns a bunch of real estate and businesses and whatever. And he and his family have lived off of $12,000 a month, basically their entire adult lives. Their family lives on $12,000, which is still a considerable amount of money, but their income has been growing ever since they became a family. And the extra money just goes to building schools or libraries or whatever. They can give more every single month. So like, they're an example of people who are completely content. Their lifestyle has not changed. They have everything they need. They have plenty of money, but they're not content. Like, they're not doing the same thing. They're still trying to add more value to the world. And I think that that's an amazing mentality to be able to not change your lifestyle, even though you're making 6 figures a month. They have the same lifestyle. So I think that's interesting.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, and we could do a whole show on building wealth versus building a business, right? Like, those, to me, this year it's become fundamentally clear to me how different that is. And that's why I've been starting to spend more time on the real estate side. Like, I've always had like a soft footprint in it when we bought this house, this, townhouse to be a rental. But like, now I'm starting to really fundamentally get like creating cash flow in a business and creating wealth that you live off of eventually are 2 different things. And so I don't know, it's exciting. I think that whole topic is exciting. I think that we'll touch on that a lot more as the year goes on. I know that Chris is interested in learning a lot more about it. I've been learning a lot more about it, and been talking to other people who are doing it the right way. And I say right way, meaning they're doing it well. So yeah, I think that's a very interesting topic just all by itself.
There's a question of when having a PO box's return address, do you have a customer know that they can't return it UPS or FedEx? I didn't know that. I thought you could return an item any way you want to, as long as it goes to the PO box. I use a PO box, and I've received packages back FedEx and USPS, but never UPS. I don't know the reason for that though.
Yeah, I use PO box as well. I've never had any issues with returns. I don't know how to answer if they can or can't do that through those parcel services, but I've never had any issues.
Let's see.
Had a couple of questions.
I always need to triple my money. See, Diana, I agree with that. Hustlebee is in the chat, and he does the same thing. Like, with a $20 investment, he likes to get back $40 to $60, and he's full-time too. So when you have extra time, you can do that. But I don't know anybody who doesn't have time that also needs a huge margin, because then you would have a very small store if that was the case.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wish I could find items that were 10 to 100 all day long, but they're just not out there, unfortunately. Um, oh, there's a question here, just a little unrelated, but does anyone have experience getting mothball smell without washing? And I think this is an interesting question because I encounter this all the time at estate sales, and that's actually why I've shied away from lately from clothing, because every suit and blazer I find, I feel like, oh, it doesn't smell that bad, and then I get it in my car, and all I can smell is mothballs. And so I've pretty much stayed away from it. I don't know if anyone else has had any experience with that, or if you know, Chris, or if anyone in the chat knows, but that's an interesting one if we could solve.
I have been putting potentially questionable smell things in the freezer, and that's been making it go away. I don't know why. Is there some kind of science behind that? I don't know, but it's been working. I just put since I store my items in a poly bag, I just throw that in the freezer, and for some reason, it makes the smell go away. There's got to be science behind that.
No, that's actually, I remember hearing that. That's really, I forgot I've heard that, but I never connected the dots because it was always for shoes. I remember reading that about shoes, putting shoes in like a Ziploc bag and putting them in your freezer, and the smell goes away. That's a really good idea. There's no reason it wouldn't work for clothing either. Okay. My thing is, heck, I end up buying them and my car smells like it for days, and I'm like, forget that. I'm not into that.
I wanted to ask what you think of this. So during my sourcing now, I'm actually dividing the items into 20 batches of 20, even at the thrift. So I go and get the stuff. I'm going to pack it into garbage bags of 20 items and then put that into my car so I can easily eyeball how many items I have. And also I like to batch in sets of 20. And I was just thinking about the fact that my car does not smell like thrift anymore because it goes into the garbage bag before it goes into my car. So I don't know what you think of that.
I mean, if it's working, why not? Our Goodwills give they're like big plastic bags. So I find that it contains it just fine usually. I don't have much of an issue with that. Our thrift stores, I'm just being honest, our Goodwill retails are really clean. I haven't had a lot of issues at all with smells. Thank goodness. I know that's way different other places, but ours just seem to be very clean. But yeah, I think that's if it works for you. I saw something else in there. Oh, someone asked as a follow-up to the P.O. Box, Chris, if we use it for our ship from address or just our return address. I use it for both. I have it on the only address you'll find on my eBay store, I believe, is my P.O. Box.
I use both. And I'm also careful to not film outside my house because I have local pickup. So yeah, you can't tell people where you live on social media or your buyers because then you can get in trouble eventually somehow.
Yeah, in the same way. Same way. What else we got here? Trying to scroll and keep up.
We've had a couple of questions on drop shipping. I refer to this guy who runs a store called Gully Games. He also has a YouTube channel. He has 55,000 drop shipped items, not a single item in his house. He does 6 figures with zero inventory. And it's a different beast. You're going to get negative feedback because things don't work, but you're also going to get insane amounts. How do you get 50? You can't list 55,000 of your own things. So it just depends on how you do it.
Yeah, I unfortunately don't have any expertise in that, so I'm going to have to kind of punt on that question. I want to be very careful not to give advice on something I haven't experienced. I know there's a lot of logistics to it, and there's a lot of different customer service facing issues with it, but I'm not sure what they entail.
Yeah, there's a lot of drop shippers. Again, every model works. That's the thing that I heard from eBay Live, people who came back. The general synopsis is everybody has made some different kind of model work. So there's people, I reviewed a store on Friday where the guy takes 100% of his pictures on his bed with his phone. Every single item is wrinkled. It's all stored in a pile in the corner, and he makes 6 figures. So if that guy can make it work, we can make it work, guys. Every single model works if you have it mastered. So just over time, adjust what you're doing.
Yeah.
Don't do something twice that doesn't work.
Yeah. I agree. Like I have ambitions eventually to, I mean, I would like to test out Shopify and a couple other things and have some type of a hybrid of print on demand / drop shipping with a separate business and a niche that I'm interested in, just because I think it's, again, we talked about burnout, right? And I think that if I'm doing eventually just eBay is going to get stale for me. And I want to be a part of my overall business portfolio, but I don't want it to be the whole thing. And so that interests me a lot because it's more of a marketing, more from a marketing standpoint, right? You're trying to develop a brand around a niche and selling items within that, doing a good job of putting them in front of buyers. And I just think that that's just a totally different business that would excite and kind of engage my interest. So I hope to explore that, and hopefully I'll be able to add some value, you know, and I'm not going to say in the short term, but definitely like next year at some point, I'd like to experiment with it.
There's an interesting question, which is, do you guys have a minimum per hour? And I think this is an interesting question. I actually have a dollar amount that I think reselling is. I think for the majority of people, they cannot make over $28 an hour reselling. And I'll explain that by saying that most people, they make $5 to $10 an item, and they can do, let's say, 6 to 10 an hour, and they will get 6 to 10 up and out. This is including sourcing time, guys. So like you go thrift, come bring it back home, you're getting 6 to 10 total items up, and not all 10 items sell. Like 8 of them are sell or 7 of them will sell. So you make the profit, but then you have 2 or 3 items that you have some sunk cost into that you haven't sold. And when you add all that together, I came up with a number of about 28 bucks an hour is what most people do when they resell, which is a respectable income. But, you know, if you're trying to get out of making, you know, just $56,000 a year, which is what $28 an hour is, you either have to work more than one full-time job, like was mentioned in the comments, you're working more than 40 hours a week, or you have some help. And there are plenty of husband and wife or 1 or 2 staff or cousin comes on the weekend type of businesses that get into the 6-figure range. But it's very challenging to just do it in 40 hours a week, because if you count every second, I don't see a lot of resellers online that make more than 28 an hour.
So then I get to throw the fun employee-based question back at you, since I'm full-time employed. So I make X per year, but the amount I make, if you break it down to a 40-hour work week, it looks pretty good. But if you're salaried and you break it down to working 60 hours sometimes, your hourly goes down. So you can be employed, get paid X salary, and your hourly actually fluctuates on a weekly basis. So I always take that same parallel to reselling, in that, yes, I might work more, my hourly per se might be lower, right? But I'm making X per year. And so I always look at it more from, do I have the lifestyle I want outside of the time working on my business? And does that salary justify the time put it in? So I agree with you. All your points were super valid and not wrong. It's more, for me, it's way more of a, until you have more money than time, the hourly rate's almost irrelevant. I think we get too caught up. Like, this is my very personal opinion, is everyone gets so caught up in their hourly rate, what they're making per hour. And you spend, like, I've had some comments of like, why don't you just part-time bartend instead of do this at what you're making, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, okay, like, valid point. Like, yeah, like, totally valid point. But if I'm trying to control my time and I have more time than money, then it doesn't matter what I'm doing to make that money, as long as it's ethical and I enjoy it and I'm making extra money, then I'm winning at what I'm trying to do. So I think there's a lot of perspective there, right? Like, I wouldn't be fulfilled making 40 bucks an hour, 15 hours a week bartending, as I would making 28 doing eBay for double that amount of time. Like, right? Like, if I would spend 30 hours a week working on eBay because I love it, but I only could work 15 hours being a part-time bartender because I can't stand it. Yeah, I'm making less hourly, but I'm making more money in the long run. So I think the passion has to match the hours you're putting in too. So
another comment, if you sell rare items, like, for example, Ken is in the chat and he sells sneakers, and I used to be in a sneaker game, sometimes your investment actually increases. So like, if you buy an item, a pair of sneakers, and it doesn't sell over a period of time, as the supply dwindles, the demand remains the same, which means you can charge more. And that's interesting because that doesn't happen with a job. There's no job that you make more in the future. It always goes the opposite direction. And, you know, there's purveyors of, I was telling Luke and Prop Sales, who are in North Carolina, there's a dude that reached out to me that has like 5 warehouses of stuff that's worth millions of dollars that he only paid a couple $100,000 for over the course of his lifetime. Like the investment is just so big now. I mean, like you can't even spend that money.
Yeah, no, that's a good point too. Like when you make a buy, it can go up or down in value, right? Like, and that is very interesting about our business and being in reselling. It's like there's nothing static about the value of that item. So that's a good point.
There's a question from Adam. Why did I get out of sneakers? I am not completely out of sneakers. I just I'm having difficulty with buying sneakers and hiring staff because sneakers are so much more capital intensive, and I'm not very good at hiring people. I need more like capital for hiring so I can learn how to eventually do that. I don't want to list for my ideal day includes no listing. So I need to figure out how to hire that part out. So since clothing is so cheap and the ROI is so high, that's why I'm selling less shoes, but I'm not out of the shoe game. I love shoe games.
I see a couple of good questions rolled in here. So Michael said, so eBay is the fuel to diversify, i.e. Shopify, etc. To me, and I'm curious how you feel about this, Chris, because I know I think you like eBay more than I do as far as like you're very passionate about it. I love eBay too, but to me, eBay is a transactional business I'm building that I can hopefully eventually one day replace myself in. So it'll still run, I'll still have it. I just won't be putting the effort in. That way I can springboard off that into other things and put my energy there while that continues to grow and build. So I think that's how I view that. I don't know how you feel about that, Chris.
I mean, I just think that we're always learning. Like I live by the Kaizen mentality where you just continuous improvement. Continuous improvement may mean for Luke and I to not do eBay. It may mean to not do YouTube. It may mean to not do Instagram. Continuous improvement means we are always uncomfortable and we're trying to learn how to be in that range where this is what you do every day. When you do something a little bit more, you're going to feel discomfort the entire time, but we want to live in that continuous thing. And as I continue my eBay journey, I'm less interested also in the particular item. Like clothing is easier for me to source where I live than sneakers. So like, even though I'm more passionate about sneakers, I'm going to pick something that's easier to source.
Yeah, I agree with you too. I've gotten less emotional attachment to the type of items I've sold as I've grown, for sure. There's a couple other good ones. The tax one, I know you answered there, but I use the CPA too. Chris has answered in the chat. And I actually pay mine monthly now so that I can talk to him on a rolling basis, because as you grow, like staying on top of that and making sure you're maximizing all your advantages is super important. I can't recommend that enough to people. So that's all I really want to say on that though.
And there's a comment here asking like, is eBay fuel to go into something like Shopify? Well, I think it's all related. Like we've leveraged eBay to grow YouTube channels. We've used it to grow our Instagram influence. I have a channel called 10K on the Bay Luke has a channel called Endless Entrepreneurs. Those are brands. So like we can do, and it's also important to look at the brands, because I've sort of pigeonholed myself in the eBay where Luke can talk about anything related to entrepreneurship. So it's interesting to think about how everything can segue into different things depending on how you do it.
Oh, for sure.
We started a little bit late today, but let's try to get maybe one more each.
Yeah, let's take one more and go. Let's see.
Don't take any tax advice from me. That just
Yeah,
is a generic comment.
On the tax thing, just to kind of summarize, like you always should have a professional that you're working with that knows more than you about it. Like, unless that's your main job, you are missing out on some value by not working with someone who it is theirs. That is their expertise. That is what they're trained in. So I strongly believe in that. I strongly believe in having a good team around you. I just recently, like I said, I hired my graphic designer who's working for me. I say hire, but I'm subcontracting him to work and do some monthly stuff for me because I need the help. And same with my accountant, just because it's like having those people in place, like they're experts at what they do. I haven't seen any other questions.
The last thing I'm going to address is the notifications. Do I turn them off? I actually took a tip from Rockstar Flipper Casey, and I charge my cell phone in the bathroom now, so I don't have any. I don't look at my phone at night anymore because it's not near me. And also, I have the night mode on the iPhone, so pretty much my mom or my brother or like only family could even disturb me. Everything else is turned off at night, so there's no noise.
Yeah, I think that's great. And yeah, we can end on that. I'll comment on the notifications. When in the morning, like I wake up at usually 4:45. I do my Live at 5 show, and then I list items pretty much until I leave for work. And during that time, I turn off my notifications because I use my phone to take pictures, and I don't want to be distracted while I'm trying to take as many pictures as possible as quickly as I can and listing items. So I agree with removing them when it makes sense to, right?
All right, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. If you guys have more ideas for shows, please let us know. We have a bunch of topics coming up. We need to talk about redemption codes. We need to do more challenges. Luke and I are pretty competitive, but we've kind of fallen off on our battling each other for a certain amount of listings, or we were at one point timing all of our different processes. I have fallen away from that.
Yeah. Also, guys, there's a lot of people watching live. Looks like we have like 160. I want to see more likes on this video for Chris. Please let us know we're doing a good job. Those likes make a lot of difference for us and helps us stay excited to bring the content back to you guys on a weekly basis. And please drop below comments. We do answer everything. Maybe in a couple days delay, but I get to every comment. So please leave them below, and we love hearing them.
If you guys haven't joined Luke's channel, the link is in the description. I think I may have not put it in there, but I'll put it in right after this call. And we're also going to upload on each other's channels from now on, so you guys can see it on either channel, and it'd be great for us to support each other. And again, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Luke, you want to tell everybody where they can find you as well, and then we'll end it there.
Yeah, check me out on Instagram, Endless Entrepreneurs, and on YouTube, Endless Entrepreneurs, and I have a website, Endless Entrepreneurs. So keep the common theme. Check me out. Appreciate any support you guys can throw my way.
All right, guys. See ya.